students! I am Sir Alvic and I'm your subject teacher in Mathematics for grade 7. But you can call me Teacher Vic. So today, we'll be learning math in a fun yet challenging way. Will you join me? That's good to know. So, let's go!
Hello there! Today, we're going to delve into a new lesson. But before that, let's have first a review of what has transpired yesterday. And then what can give us our lesson we discussed? Alright, that is right. We discussed about adjacent angles. Now, who can give me or who can define what are adjacent angles? That is correct. We define adjacent angles as two angles that share a common side, which is a ray, and a common vertex but with no interior lines. So, those are adjacent angles. Now, since we already know what are adjacent angles, we can now proceed to our new lesson for this day. And that will be complementary and supplementary angles. Okay? Before we proceed to our activity, let me post first your learning objective. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to derive relationships of geometric figures using measurements and by inductive reasoning. Those are the supplementary angles and the complementary angles. Okay? Now, for your first activity, I'll be presenting or showing you 4 sets of angle figures, and you're going to measure the indicated angle names or angles using your protractor. Okay? Let's have first this first angle. Okay. You're going to get the measure of angle FEG and angle GED. Now, I'll give you 1 minute to get their measures. Your time starts now. Okay, let's see if you got the correct measurements. Now for angle FEG, its measure is 60 degrees. Now for angle GED, we got 30 degrees. Very good. Next example. We're going to get the measure of angle TUV and angle XYZ. Another minute for you to get the measure of these angles. Okay, your time is up. Now for angle TUV, what is the measure of that? That is right, 45 degrees. What about angle XYZ? That is also correct. Also 45 degrees. Let's proceed with the third example. We're going to get the measure of angle MNO and angle OMP. You have 1 minute again to answer that. Okay, let's check. Now for the measure of angle M and O, What is its measure? That is right, 135 degrees. What about angle ONP? Very good. We got 45 degrees. Now for our last example of fourth angle figure, going to get the measure of angle ABC and angle RST. 1 minute again for you to get their measures. Okay, what is the measure of angle ABC? Very good, 60 degrees. What about angle RST? 120 degrees. So those are correct. Now, for the first two examples, alright, what mathematical equation can be formed from the measure of two angles and its sum? Okay, what mathematical equation can be formed from the measure of two angles and its sum? Now for the first example, we have measure of angle FEG, which is 60 degrees, and measure of angle GED, which is 30. Now, the mathematical equation that we can form in terms of the measure of two angles and its sum is the measure of angle FEG plus the measure of angle GED is equal to 90 degrees. Meaning, if we add these two angles, 60, the measure of angle FEG, and 30, the measure of angle GED, we got 90 degrees. Alright, now for the second example, the measure that we got from angle TUV is 45 degrees. And likewise with angle XYZ, we also got 45 degrees. Now what mathematical equation can we form from the measure of the two angles and its sum? That is right. The measure of angle TUV plus the measure of angle XYZ is also equal to 90 degrees. Now, if two angles whose sum of their measures is equal to 90 degrees, what do we call to this angle pair or these two angles? That is correct. We call them complementary angles. For example, the measure of angle 1, the first angle, plus the measure of angle 2, the second angle, when we add them and it's exactly equal to 90 degrees, we call them complementary angles. Okay? Next. Now for the third and fourth examples, same question, what mathematical equation can be formed from the measure of two angles and its sum? So earlier, for the third example, the measure of angle MNO is equal to 135 degrees. And angle ONP, we got 45 degrees. Now the equation that we can form from those two angle measures is, that is right, the measure of angle MNO, which is 135, plus the measure of angle ONP, which is 45, will be equal to 180. Right? Take note of that. It is equal to 180 degrees. Next example, the fourth example, for the angle ABC, the measure that we got is 60 degrees. And measure of angle RST is 120 degrees. Now what equation, mathematical equation, can we form in terms of the measures of these two angles and the sum? Anyone? Alright. Same with the third example, the measure of angle ABC, which measures 60, plus measure of the angle RST 120. If we add them, we will get the sum of 180 degrees. Now, if two angles whose sum of their measures is equal to 180 degrees, how do we call these angle pairs or these two angles? That is correct. We call them supplementary angles. Example, the measure of angle 1 or the first angle added to the measure of angle 2 or second angle. When we add them, we get 180 degrees. Okay? Next, for the activity called complement me, you're going to find the complement of 36 degrees. Now, we know that complementary angles, there's the sum of two angles should be equal to 90. Alright? Now we're going to get its complement. I'll be giving you 1 minute to solve for that. Okay? Let's check. The solution for this will be represent the complement of the given angle as a variable, then write the working equation, which is 36 degrees plus x is equal to 90. Okay? X represents the measure of the complement. Okay? Next is, we're going to subtract 36 from 90. Now, why 90? Since we are going to find its complement, we're going to subtract from 90 degrees. So, x will be 90 degrees minus 36 degrees. We will get the measure of the complement, which is the x, 54 degrees. The complement of 36 degrees is 54 degrees. Do you have the same answer? Very good. Next, now you're going to find the complement of the following angles given the following measures. So for number 1, 35 degrees, number 2, 55 degrees, number 3, 70 degrees, number 4, 80 degrees, number 5, 80 degrees. I'll be giving you 10 seconds to get their complements. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, for number 1, the complement of 35 degrees is 55 degrees. For number 2, its complement is 35 degrees. For number 3, 20 degrees. For number 4, 10 degrees. Number 5, 2 degrees. Right? You got the same answers? That is very good. Well, in order for you to get the complement, you're going to subtract the given measure from these. Okay? Let's proceed to our next activity, supplement me. The given will be, we're going to find the supplement of 78 degrees. Okay. Take note of that. Supplement. Earlier, we have complement. Now, supplement. Now, for the solution, represent the complement of the given angle as a variable. Write the working equation. 78 degrees plus x is equal to 180 degrees. Now, for next step, we're going to subtract 78 from 180 since we're going to get its supplement. Okay, for the definition of supplementary angles, two angles, when added, measures up to 180. So x, which is the second angle is equal to 180 minus 78 degrees, we will get now the difference of 112. So the supplement 78 degrees is 112. Okay, to check, 78 plus 112 will get 180 degrees. Okay, for next activity, we're going to find the supplement of the following angles given the following measures. Number 1, 104, 135, 120, 175, and 90. We're giving you again 10 seconds to get their supplements. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Let's check your answers. For number 1, supplement is 76 degrees. Number 2, 45 degrees. Number 3, 60 degrees. Number 4, 5 degrees. And number 5, 82 degrees. Okay? So when we add them, we will get the sum of 180 degrees. Okay? Very good. Let's have word problems. Find the measure of the complementary angle of a 12-degree angle less than the twice the other. For the solution, let x be the measure of the first angle, okay? Then 2x minus 12 be the measure of the second angle. Now since these two angles are complementary, it should be equal to 90 degrees. Okay, the working equation that we're going to have will be x, the measure of first angle, plus quantity 2x minus 12, which is the measure of the second angle, equals 90. Now let's combine terms. We can add x and 2x, so we're going to have 3x minus 12 equals 90. Okay? Then, the addition property of equality, add 12 to the both sides of the equation. Okay? So we get 3x is equal to 90 plus 12. 3x is equal to 102. Now, the division property of equality, we divide both sides of the equation by 3. So 3x over 3 will get x, and 102 divided by 3 will get 34. Okay, so x is equal to 34, meaning 34 is the measure of our first angle. And to get the measure of the second angle, we substitute that x, the 34, to the measure of the second angle. Let's substitute. Okay? Follows the second angle measures 2x minus 12 is equal to 2 times 34, which is the x, minus 12 is equal to 68 minus 12 is equal to 56. Meaning, the two complementary angles measure 34, the first angle, and 56, the measure of the second respectively. Okay, so 34 plus 56, to check that, we got, that is right, 90 degrees. Next, word problem. The measure of the supplement of an angle is 25 degrees, more than 4 times the measure of the angle. Find the measure of each angle. Okay, for the solution, let x be the measure of that angle. 180 minus x be the measure of its supplement. Now, we're going to solve for x in the equation 180 minus x is equal to 4x plus 25. Okay, now let's combine terms. 180 minus x equal to 4x plus 25. Now by subtraction property of equality, let's subtract 4x and 180 from both sides. So we'll get negative 5x is equal to negative 155, and by division property of equality, we divide both sides by negative 5. Okay, so negative 5x divided by 5 will get x, and negative 155 divided by 5 will get negative 30. We'll get 31. Okay? Then substitute 31 for x in 180 minus x to get the measure of the supplement of the angle. 180 minus x is equal to 180 minus 31. Okay, so we'll get 149. So check our answer, or your answer. 31 plus 149 is equal to 1. Okay, therefore, the angle measures 310. Okay, and its supplement measures 140. That is very good. Next, for our activity, we're going to complete this table. Okay, so you can see we have 4 columns. First angle, the measure of the first angle, the measure of second angle, and on the third column, we're going to get the sum of the 2 angles. And on the fourth column, we're going to identify if it's complementary or supplementary. Okay, for number 1, the given are the measures of the first and second angle, which is 50 and 40 respectively. Now, what is the sum of these 2 angles? Correct. So we got 50 plus 40, we have 90 as the sum. Now, since the sum is 90, is that complementary or supplementary? Very good. Those 2 angles are complementary because their sum it's 90. Next, number 2. The given are the measure of the first angle, and it is identified that it would be complementary. Okay, so since it's complementary, it should be equal to 90 degrees, right? And the given first angle is 70 degrees. So we're going to get its complement. Correct. So 90 minus 70 first angle, the measure of the second angle would be 20 degrees. Okay. Now, the sum of these 2 angles, 70 plus 20, will get 90. That's very good. Now, for the third example, number 3, the given are 60 as the first angle, 30 as the second angle. Now, we're going to find the sum and identify if it's complementary or supplementary. Okay? What's the sum of these 2 angles? That is right, 90 degrees. Okay? Is it complementary or supplementary? Complementary, since these 2 angles equal to 90. Next, for number 4, the given are the measure of the first angle, which is 110 degrees, and it is identified that it should be supplementary. Okay, we know in supplementary, the measure of the 2 angles should be equal to 180 degrees. Now, to get the measure of the second angle or its supplement, we're going to subtract that from, correct, 180 degrees. So 180 minus the first angle, 110 degrees. What should be the measure of the second angle? Alright, that is correct. The measure of the second angle is 70 degrees. Okay, so the sum of the 2 angles, 110 plus 70, will get 180 degrees. Okay, supplementary angle. Next, last number 5. The given are the measure of the first angle and the second angle, which are 180 degrees respectively. What is the sum of these 2 angles? Good. the sum of these two angles is 180 degrees. 100 plus 80, we get 180. Since it's equal to 180 degrees, it is called supplementary or complementary? Correct. Supplementary. Very good. Now check your answers. These are the correct answers, which is in orange color texts. Okay. 10 items. For the next activity, I have here a road map which shows different routes. Okay? But the problem is the route heading to RHU Libon intersects routes heading to LCC Libon Extra Smart and to Libon Private School, forming complementary angles. Now, for number 1, if the car turns at 37 degrees heading to RHU Libon, at what angle will the motorcycle rider turn to the same route? Okay. Now for number 2, at what angle will the biker turn going to Bonbon proper? Okay. For number 1, since it is given already that the route heading to RHU Libon intersects routes heading to LCC Libon Express Mart and to Libon Private School, forming complementary angles. Now by looking at the illustration, if the car turns at 37 degrees heading to RHU Libon, the angle of turn of the motorcycle would be what? Anyone? Yes. Very good. Okay. Since it forms complementary angles, we know that complementary angles sums up to 90 degrees, and that car turns at 37 degrees. That motorcycle rider will turn at what angle? Anyone? 53. Now how do you get 53? That is right. 90 degrees minus 37 degrees, that would be 53 degrees as the angle of turn of that motorcycle rider. Okay? Now what about that biker? Now for number 2, at what angle will the biker turn going to? Look at the illustration. As you can see, the road from Libon Private High School going to Bonbon proper is a straight line, and we know that it forms what angle? It forms supplementary angles since it is a straight line. Now, at what angle will the biker turn going to Bonbon proper? Anyone could solve the problem? Yes, that is correct. So 180 minus what? We're going to subtract the 2. $37 degrees. So 180 minus 37. What is its difference? 180 minus 37. Anyone? 143. That is correct. 143 degrees will be the angle of turn of that bike going to Bonbon. 37 plus 143 is equal to 180. Okay, very good. Now for your next sit work, we're going to find the x or the value of x. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Okay, very good. So you got all the answers right. Now let's have a wrap up of our lesson for this day. Now, how do we call complementary angles, or how do we define complementary angles? Okay, that is correct. If two angles sums up to exactly 90 degrees, measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 is equal to 90. Those are called complementary angles. But if it's equal to 180 degrees, we call them supplementary angles. Measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. So I hope you learned very well from this lesson that we have today. Okay? So, see you on our next meeting. Goodbye!